Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star Sports podcast presented by First Federal Bank. It's Monday, June 20th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. Chiefs players' bags are packed. They're going on vacation. Well, they're getting out of Arrowhead Stadium and OTAs. Those are over as of last week, and we won't see the team until it assembles in 5 weeks at Missouri Western and St. Joe's. So what did we learn in the last week of OTAs? A few things. Safety Juan Thornhill plans to be a Pro Bowl caliber player. Defensive tackle Chris Jones was angry about his play in the AFC title game. And Patrick Mahomes is going to bring back some of his teammates to Texas to continue workouts. We discuss all of this on today's show with beat writers Herbie Teope and Jesse Newell. After a break, you'll hear from Mahomes at his press availability last week. So let's get going, talking Chiefs. It's over. Off-season activities in the books for the Chiefs, and Herbie Teope and Jesse Newell, Chiefs beat writers. We're going to talk about it today. We got to hear from a lot of Chiefs last week, guys like Juan Thornhill and Chris Jones, Willie Gay. So any revelations from those guys last week? Jess, let's start with you. Did you learn anything about these guys last week? We'll be hearing from them again in about 2 months, month and a half or so, but they did get to the podium, and it was good to hear from them.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going the Mahomes route, obviously the wrap up of the Tyreek Hill stuff, we talk about the NFL, how they kind of capture us throughout the course of the entire season or the entire year, maybe not counting these next 5 weeks or so, but that's sort of what this does. When Tyreek talks on his podcast and all of a sudden I'm seeing it on the bottom line of ESPN and Stephen A. Smith is talking about it, it becomes a big headline. So for Mahomes to address that situation and talk about how he did feel like a little bit disappointed or surprised that Tyreek would have those discussions or words in his podcast, I think that was something. Other than that, yeah, it's good to get updates from these guys, and it's good to hear from them. The Thornhill comment about I'm saying I'm going to be an all-pro, write it down. I mean, that's obviously something that's great for us in the offseason. We'll see if Thornhill can back up his words there, but good to have high expectations and to set the bar high. He's obviously doing that. And outside of that, George Karlaftis talked a little bit about in the pre-draft process dropping 10 to 15 pounds, which I thought was interesting as well. And you look at some of his numbers that over his Purdue career and just maybe not quite as good as last year. So I'm sure he had some consultation on that and potentially to maybe get a little bit more explosion as he was going into the draft. So we'll see if that helps him out in his first year with the Chiefs. But obviously he's a player that the Chiefs are going to rely upon a lot coming up this next year.
I thought Chris Jones was interesting too. He laid it out there that he didn't come up at times when they needed him to come up big, Herbie. I think back to the AFC title game loss to the Bengals, but there were other times too last year. And of course, he was the subject of the position switch early on. And, it was just a little bit of a strange year for Chris Jones. This is a big year for him coming up, isn't it? And he's got and then the Chiefs are going to have to make a decision with him contractually wise after next season. But 2022, big year for Chris Jones, and the Chiefs are going to need him to step up and be the guy that he's been when he's been a Pro Bowl guy.
Yeah, and you mentioned Chris Jones. The comment that stuck out to me the most there was not the inability to sack Joe Burrow in that AFC Championship game, because as we know, going into that game, the Bengals' offensive line was atrocious. It was atrocious during the postseason. It was atrocious during the Super Bowl. Burrow was sacked, hit, left and right, but it did not happen against the Chiefs. And then we know Veach, general manager Brett Veach, after seeing that game, and it showed during the offseason, defense was his priority. You use a first-round draft pick on George Karlaftis, you're going to expect Frank Clark to chip in a little bit more than what he's done over the past couple of regular seasons, but they need to get after the quarterback. And then Jones saying his inability to sack Joe Burrow haunted him. Not necessarily, he didn't use that word haunt, but, he thought about it a lot. That says a lot to me. When we talk about Thornhill, you mentioned the all-pro statement, but there's a little bit more to that than just being, making that bold prediction. This is his first time since his rookie season that he has not had to deal with any type of off-season rehab. Remember his rookie year, making a strong case for Defensive Rookie of the Year before he suffers the torn ACL in the season finale. And then he spent the 2020 offseason rehabbing that. He was not the same last offseason in 2021 because the Chiefs held back. Remember, they limited his snaps during the OTAs and even minicamp and even the start of training camp. So he's finally healthy. And this is a huge year for him because it's a contract year. And as our esteemed colleague, rest in peace, Therese Taylor, used to love to say, the contract year is undefeated. And Thornhill making that statement, I want to be an all-pro. Hey, that means he's healthy and he's going to show he's back to his rookie form. And I'm looking forward to that.
Well, and of course, the departure of Tyrann Mathieu just shines a spotlight on the whole safety position. Chiefs added players, right? Justin Reed's coming in as a veteran presence. They drafted safeties, and the position is in for something of an overhaul. But Juan Thornhill is he's the returning chief, right? And I think of him athletically as, if there's a center fielder on the Chiefs defense, it's going to be him. He's got the wheels to do it. So look for big things from Juan Thornhill, and I hope he can back it up. What he said this past week. Chiefs made a couple of signings. Had a couple signings last week. Herbie, let's start with Jerrick McKinnon, the running back. I didn't know this was coming. I wasn't sure it was coming, but it surprised me that it took this long. If the Chiefs were going to re-sign him, I thought it might have come earlier. It came when it did, but he was a pretty valuable piece of this offense last year, especially in the postseason. I think it was the best running back in the postseason for the Chiefs last year, and now they bring him back, and it crowds the running back room a little bit, doesn't it? Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Ronald Jones, Derek Gore, Isaiah Pacheco, and then the other newcomers, Ely, and then Fleet Davis. So a lot of candidates now at running back. What did Andy Reid say about the signing of McKinnon and you can't have too many running backs, I guess?
Yeah, you can't have too many running backs. But the key thing, the thing that jumps out to me was when Reid talked about experience and leadership. Without McKinnon, this running backs group was young. They only averaged 23.5 years per age among the group. Now you bring in a 30-year-old running back who has all that experience. And even Ronald Jones, when he talked about him earlier in the week, mentioned that, hey, now we have a capable 1-2-3 punch at the running back position. But you have that leadership. You have the veteran presence there that they were lacking without McKinnon. So I thought it's a good signing. And if you look at Reid's MO, he does tend to bring in a savvy veteran to help mentor the young guys.
Let me cut in, Herbie. That's nice to say, a 1-2-3 punch. Is it a 1-2-3 punch? Because we talk about the roster crunch for the Chiefs. They're keeping a fullback in Burton. They're keeping Blake Bell. We know that. We know at tight end they're going to have a couple guys. So Isaiah Pacheco, they just drafted him. Potentially could be a kick return sort of guy. Do they have room there for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Ronald Jones, and Jerrick McKinnon, or does one of those guys have to go?
One of those guys is going to go because the Chiefs aren't going to keep more than 4 running backs, okay? But I think if you do, going back to Ronald Jones's statement of a 1-2-3 punch, if Reid defers to the veteran over the youth, then that might leave Isaiah Pacheco out, okay? Because you got to remember, McKinnon can also contribute on special teams. Earlier in his career, he was a return specialist with the Minnesota Vikings as well as the San Francisco 49ers before he ripped up his knee. So he's a guy that can do a little bit of all of that. They've kept 3 running backs mostly and the fullback, right? Not a 4th running back. And we're assuming they'll keep 6 wide receivers, the fullback, 4 tight ends, I guess, because it's an Andy Reid offense. That if you add it all up, basically what you do is you get to 25, right? 25 on offense, 25 on defense. That's usually the case. And the way it breaks down, 6 wide receivers, 4 tight ends, 3 running backs, a fullback, and was it 2 quarterbacks
and a partridge in a pear tree?
Yep. Whatever you have left in offensive linemen, it's 8 or 9, whatever that is. So,
the interesting part about that, you mentioned the 2 quarterbacks. Remember last year they signed Shane Buechele from the practice squad to the active roster, so they ended up with 3 quarterbacks. because the Arizona Cardinals were sniffing around to see if they could steal Buechele. Now it's going to be, when you have this many running backs and you mention all the wide receivers, what are the Chiefs going to do in training camp at the end of camp? Are they going to keep two, or are they still going to try to protect Shane Buechele?
Okay, how about another signing last week was Chris Lammons, the cornerback who is a special teams ace. That's what his big contribution is. So what about that one, Herbie? Is that was this a no-brainer, or were you surprised to see Chris Lammons sign?
I'm a little surprised because of his legal issues in Las Vegas, but the Chiefs signing him at this point leads me to believe, and I'm completely speculating here because if I'm not mistaken, his day in court isn't until August. But they might feel that he might be safe, from missing time. But even if you bring him back now, I just don't see this guy making the roster because the Chiefs used 5 of their draft picks in the draft. That's redundant. They used 5 of their draft picks on defensive back. So it's like, where is this guy going to fit in? Do you want to go with him, or do you spent that capital on cornerbacks? That's probably the route they're going to go. They did waive Luke Barku, so it was a trade-off. It was 1 for 1.
All right. Well, how about Aaron Parker? Got some NFL experience, the wide receiver. Why bring him in?
Well, he had a successful mini camp tryout. That's the only thing I can think of. Other than that, again, where's he going to fit in? I just don't see this guy being a surprise like Darius Fountain was last year, who signed after a successful tryout at a mini camp and then went on to make the final 53. But this year's roster, they're so deep at wide receiver. I don't see how this guy's going to fit in.
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to talk about depth. We talk about the Chiefs being deep at running back, but yet I think Pro Football Focus had them as like the 31st best running back group. But we're right. There's lots of bodies there, but receiver actually has more depth. You know what I mean? We were having trouble trying to get down to 6 here a couple weeks ago when we were chatting here on SportsBeat KC. So yeah, right now it's depth and signings and kind of the stuff that goes on this time of year we have to talk about, but more than likely that's not a guy that's going to make an impact on the roster.
When you look at these signings too, Blair, when we get to training camp, a lot of these players are going to have, they need players for repetitions because you're running first team, second team, third team, and sometimes fourth team offenses. So when you bring in a guy like Parker, who had the successful tryout, they're going to need him to get some repetitions. And let's not forget, Justin Ross has disappeared since OTAs. He didn't participate in mandatory minicamp, so he has some kind of ailment going on that Andy Reid has not revealed.
Okay, a lot went on since the final day of OTAs, including later that day, which was last Thursday, the World Cup announcement that Kansas City going to get games, which means Arrowhead Stadium going to get games in 2026. I don't think I'll be able to go out to Arrowhead now without looking at the field and thinking, well, they're going to lose that corner, and they're going to lose that corner, and they're going to lose that corner. So that'll be kind of an interesting exercise for the Chiefs over the next few years to plan to figure out what's going to happen to Arrowhead Stadium. Vahe Gregorian wrote about it this weekend. We'll link to that column, but it's going to be a little different looking stadium in a few years. Nothing to worry about now, although the planning is going to is going pretty strong right now. On the future of Arrowhead. Did you guys, Jesse? Did you have a sense that when Patrick Mahomes was asked about it on Thursday, and that Kansas City was going to get some good news that afternoon?
I think we had senses from other places that it was pretty good news, but he was pumped. The guy is pretty genuine when it comes to this stuff. Like he's showing up at current games. He's showing up at Sporting KC games. He's bringing his Chiefs there. So he seems into this stuff, and the same way with the Royals, but I think he really does enjoy soccer. So, he talked about getting out to as many games as he could, or making sure that he would be available for those. And, if the dates line up, as they probably will, coming up in the World Cup in 2026, if Patrick Mahomes is still the quarterback of the Chiefs, and still he will be if he's healthy, then yeah, they could be attending those. But you're right. This is kind of a crazy moment for that, because you don't really think about the ramifications, but as Vi talked about and as you've written about, Blair, this this could have a big shakeup because already the Royals have been talking about potentially moving out of there. And then you talk about Truman and kind of the biggest complaint with the Truman Sports Complex. And I understand this is sort of like there's nothing around there. It's no atmosphere, and it's really hard to get public transportation there. Well, now if you have this coming to your town and you want to make all these fixes, I mean, listen, parking is what for the Chiefs now, $40-$50. I mean,
what if every bit of that and then some?
What if there is now public transportation to get you there? I mean that changes the. What if instead of just having the power and light by this Sprint Center, T-Mobile Center now, Sprint Center, as we all know it, what if where Kauffman Stadium now becomes sort of a district where people hang out, whether it's a Chiefs game or not? I mean, this could have major ramifications that I sort of wasn't thinking about before this past week. But if the Royals do move out of there, which it seems they're motivated to do, and that allows the Chiefs and or public transportation to get in, plus some sort of nightlife-y aspect, then this could be a major, major week for Kansas City sports to be able to have that sort of thing developing at Arrowhead Stadium, which is not something that we've been used to growing up around these parts where it was mostly just two big stadiums in the middle of a parking lot.
I would say anything, of course, what you're suggesting doesn't change the distance from your house to Arrowhead Stadium or Herbie's house to Arrowhead Stadium, which is a combined about 100-mile round trip for both of you guys. By the way,
dedication.
This is car repair and oil change time for you all. It's downtime for the Chiefs, but it's get the cars fixed for you guys. Yeah, there's a lot to consider there at Arrowhead Stadium and the Royals as well. What their future is at Kauffman, and look, the lease is up in 2031 for the stadiums at the Truman Sports Complex. I know the Royals would love to be downtown and would love to be downtown before the end of that lease, and I suspect the decisions on stadiums are going to happen sooner rather than later. So always something to pay attention to. Okay, let's wind it down. And Herbie, one thing we found out last week were the dates of training camp, and they line up with training camp dates of previous years. But just as a reminder for the public, when do they get to go for the first time?
Well, the public gets to go for the first time on July the 28th. Okay, so the Chiefs will have 15 practices open to the public. And then season ticket members have 2 exclusive days. The first one, obviously, July the 27th. And I'm not mistaken, the next one is August the 9th. I don't have the schedule in front of me.
But I think you're right on the first one. The July 27th is season ticket holders only.
Yeah, and then the key thing to remember here is you have to pay for parking every day. So folks,
$5.
Don't lose sight of that. But yeah, training camp is here. Heck, it'll be here before you know it. I always tell Jesse here, this is the time for us to decompress.
Yeah.
Because once we get back in the saddle, we're not coming back up for air again until this time next year.
It'll blow by. It'll be just like that, like a snap of a finger.
I'll let Herbie correct me, but I invested in a very good bucket hat. So I would suggest everybody else going out and getting one of those. Go ahead, Herbie.
Boonie cap, people. It's a boonie cap. It's a boonie cap. The civilians stole it from the military and decided to call it a bucket hat. But it's the proper terminology and nomenclature is boonie cap.
If you see me and Herbie or just see Herbie at training camp up there, come find him. We'll sign your bucket hat. It'll be great.
Well, it's that you bring up the signing. That's going to be a return element this year, right, Herbie? The autographs that had been. Look, there was one training camp with no fans, and then they brought fans back, but kept them distant from the players. I did read, I believe, that autograph sessions are going to happen this year, right?
Yeah, after every practice session, there will be autograph sessions broken down by position group. So folks need to check the schedule at kansascity.com. We have an article up on that, and also over at the Chiefs to find out which position groups will be available.
Okay, and do you know, or do we know if it's going to be players at tables, or are they going to interact with fans the way they used to?
My understanding is it's back to normal. So it'll be just like we saw before years past, lined up along the side, and then the players, when they're done practicing, will come along the line as they go off the field and sign autographs.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, let me bring your attention to a couple things. there's a really cool video feature on Chiefs.com. Justin Reed and Trent McDuffie toured the Negro Leagues Museum on Sunday, Juneteenth, and got the tour from Bob Kendrick. And listen, if you all haven't been fortunate enough to take the tour with Bob Kendrick, it is absolutely one of the most fun activities that you can have when you're in Kansas City. So this captures that. And I would also recommend going to see the Negro Leagues Museum at some point. Go to Kansas City or go to Chiefs.com to see that video, about 2 minutes worth of video, and it's really well done. The other thing is we're going to take a break and first of all, bid farewell to Herbie Teope and Jesse Newell. When we come back, we will hear from Patrick Mahomes, who met the media last week.
Buying your first home is a huge milestone, but the journey there can be confusing. First Federal Bank of Kansas City is here to make it simple. After nearly a century of serving the KC community, our loan advisors have experience in every type of housing market. With a short phone call, we can give you a free rate quote and talk through loan options. No pressure, no obligation. The road to home ownership can be simple with First Federal Bank. Get started with a free quote at ffbkc.com/homes. First Federal Bank of Kansas City, because banking is personal. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Blair. There are several ways to access the Star Sports section. Let me tell you about a couple of them. There's Sports Pass. For $12.99 a month, you get unlimited digital access to all of the Star Sports content, including beat writing, columns, features, pretty much everything we write. The deal renews monthly until you tell us to cancel. For $159.99 a year, you get everything the Star has to offer digitally, including sports and the e-edition. Go to kansascity.com and drop down to the bottom of the page where it says Start a Subscription for more information. Your support has never been more important. As always, thanks for reading and listening.
Some of those guys already live in Texas, and we'll be working out growing. You don't want to do too much, obviously, in training camp, but just trying to keep those things, keep everybody fresh, keep everybody working. So we'll have some dates down there, and I'm sure some guys will come through. Yeah, I think just being in better shape, I think would be the best thing. The best thing about it is whenever you come off the injury, when you try to stay in shape, you try to ride the bike or do whatever you can, especially with the foot injury, but it's hard to kind of get that running in and get that spraying in. And I feel like now I'm at a better point than I was last year as far as explosiveness and conditioning wise. So definitely that's helped out a lot. Hopefully I can keep that momentum going forward towards the season. I think the biggest thing does he watches film just kind of like I do or coaches do, and he tries to put me in those positions that I was in during the last season. So if I get put in that position again, I can make those throws. Or I think that's the biggest thing we do with medicine, with those medicine balls, with weights, is we get myself being on for positions where I throw from and kind of strengthen those things so that when my body does get to those positions, I can make the plays happen. You can tell I'm still sweating right now, so it's something that we know it's part of it. It's something you have to do to make sure your body's in the right spot. And I think it kind of keeps guys on their toes kind of this all season break, knowing that you get that training camp where that conditioning test that first day. So I think more than anything, it's kind of making sure that you're staying on top of your game on the off season those days when you don't want to work out because you know you have to be ready for that first day of training camp. Use it as some type of motivation. That second half I played, I didn't play really good football at all. Probably my worst playoff football I played the second half of that game. So just trying to use that as a learning thing that whenever I'm struggling or the team's struggling, just find ways to get positive plays. Because when you have a lead like that, you don't want to lose that lead. So if you play such a great first half and you're working really well, that second half I have to get better at taking what's there and putting some type of points on the board that come away and get the Super Bowl. I I'm surprised a little, just because I feel like we love Tyreek here. We always loved him. We still love him. I saw him out of Formula One in Miami and everything like that. But I'm sure it had something to do with trying to get his podcast, some stuff, and get it rolling. But definitely, I still love Tyreek. He's one of a kind player. But right, in Coach Reid's offense, it takes the whole team. I mean, this offense was rolling before I got here. This offense was rolling when I was a young Cowboy fan watching the Eagles beat up on the Cowboys. So, I mean, it's an offense that's more than one player, and that includes myself. I didn't talk to him since the podcast came out, but I mean, I talked to him in Formula One in Miami in May, and everything seemed fine. So, it's something where I'm sure he's trying to show that he loves where he's at in Miami. He loves his teammates. But at the end of the day, man, it's just going out there and playing football, and you kind of let other people talk about who's the best and all that type of stuff. You just want to go out there and win football games at the end of the day. Definitely. In the sense of how I've seen on the podcast, I guess. I mean, obviously, when you're the competitor that he is, I mean, the thing that I loved about Tyreek, I still love, is that he wants to win. And I feel like with the deep coach over here, defense is really tough for him. And so he had to go other places. But when he's a competitor like that, you want to have a chance to impact the game. So I know he wanted to keep the ball as much as possible so he could help us win. It wasn't a selfish thing. But it definitely didn't seem like we were winning football games, especially at the end of the season. So I don't think he really kind of brought that to our attention. But now we just kind of move on and kind of keep going with the guys that we have here. We try to keep winning football games. I think the biggest thing is they got better, a lot better over the time. It's just phase 2, phase 3, and minicamp. That's great to see, because a lot of young guys are getting called upon to make plays for us this season. And so you can tell they got more comfortable with the defense. And it's back to the very complex defense, why it's so good. So I think I'm more and more comfortable. They start getting better and better. So that's good to see, because with young guys especially, I mean, in every position, the more they know, they can just use their God-given ability, the better they play. And so you can tell they're learning more and more, and then they start playing better and better as the camp went on. Yeah, I'm very confident, just because I know we're learning off with them yesterday after. So, I mean, I think out there a lot. He loves football. He loves KC. He loves being here in his organization. And so now it's just kind of the stuff that's always tough is the business side of this. I mean, all of us want to provide for our families in the long term and next generations. So I know he's trying to get that all handled. But as far as loving the Chiefs, loving football, I'm another person who's loving Coach Steelers. Yeah, just hang it out. I mean, he is a young one too. It's about the same age as Sterling. So Brittany and his girl get along well, and they always hang out during the season. So just kind of hung out with them a little bit then. It wasn't about football. It's kind of just getting the families there and seeing them and everything like that. Yeah, I think he's done a great job of learning the offense really fast and making plays when his number's been called. He's a smart guy, so you can see why he's able to pick up stuff so fast. He has a good feel for everything, and especially in the earlier part when a couple guys a little banged up, and he's got a lot of reps, made a lot of plays, and even when he kind of do that, when all the other guys come back, he had that confidence that he can make those plays. So you saw a couple of them down the sideline where it was one-on-one guys threw it up and let him make a play, and he did. So that's a good thing to see, and hopefully carries on and training him into the season. It would be awesome. I mean, I was talking about Brittany yesterday. I would be on every one of those games I could possibly be at if they do get him here. And I know Kansas City, how much they love soccer. I mean, you see it with Sporting and how they sell out almost every game. And then with the current now in Sporting Stadium, they're bringing these huge crowds. So you know that Kansas City loves that sport. And I think if we get that big, what we saw Arrowhead, Sporting, current stadium, whenever it gets built up, and it'll be a great experience. I'll be at every single one of them. As long as we're winning football games and we're putting up points, I think I'm doing my job the right way. So there doesn't have to be, I guess, the best accuracy or best completion percentage in the world. As long as we're scoring touchdowns and winning Super Bowls, I'll take it. Oh, dude, I'm extremely excited. Jennerville's coming up soon, so hopefully we get a boy. I'll love him or her either way. But it's gonna be awesome. Sterling's such an athlete already, and so she's so cool and she's so calm. I just know girl or boys will be the wildest child I've ever. So hopefully Sterling teaches her the good ways, and we can have a great household and bring it all in.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to our SportsBeat KC production staff of Monty Davis, Randy Mason, Jeff Rosen, and Chris Fickett, and a shout out to our sponsor, First Federal Bank. Their website is ffbkc.com. Tip of the cap to Herbie Teope and Jesse Newell for sharing their insights on the Chiefs. Hey, Morning Sports Edition was more than 40 pages today, wrapping up the weekend in sports and weighing in on everything like the Stanley Cup playoffs, the College World Series, and more. Go to liveedition.kansascity.com for more information. Hey, thanks for listening, and join us for a Royals live stream on Tuesday. We start that show at 10 a.m., and you are invited with your questions and comments. We'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC.